Hey Photos subscribers, I've got a camera in my hand. It's one of the older models, but it's a big chunky professional camera. So we're going to be talking today about what details we are talking about when we talk about technical stuff. Today we're talking about ISO. What is ISO? The very definition of that acronym is still leaving you with a, I don't know what that means. Give me a definition. ISO stands for the International Standardization Organization, unless maybe I've gotten that backwards. But anyway, ISO is really just the abbreviation for an international organization that sets standards for products. And it came originally from the standardization of film. So when film was made and the chemicals were applied to the film, it was supposed to be standard so that it was accurate enough for the speed at which the chemical burnt into or developed, caused the coloration of the film when light was exposed to the film, that it would as evenly change color as any other film of that same standard numbering. So for instance, the ISO we have stands for the sensitivity of our camera sensors that are digital, the mirrorless or the digital single lens reflectors that are the quote more professional line. There's good and bad to both sides. If you want to just carry something around all day and you don't want something this big or heavy, the point and shoots are awesome. If you want the detail and, sorry, somebody driving down the road just really likes their muffler, more power to them. I don't drive those kind of vehicles. But if you want something that has quality and substance to it, something that you can edit on your computer and do very large prints of, the professional line of cameras are going to be what you're wanting. A full frame sensor and something that shoots at very high quality, but we'll get there too. ISO, in the international standardization of the sensor sensitivity, comes from the developing of film and how fast that chemical colors that plastic film. So in this way, because we've switched from, and there still are film cameras out there and there are laboratories that develop it, but if we're speaking just strictly about the digital side here, the ISO is talking about how sensitive the setting, whatever that number is for the ISO, how sensitive the sensor is to receiving that light. Now, the lower the number of the ISO means the higher the amount of light is needed. So let's say it this way. That is correct, but I'm going to say it in another way so that hopefully it makes more sense. The lower the number, the lower the exposure. So if you set your camera to, say, 100 ISO, the photo is going to come out looking darker than if you had set that ISO at 1600. So I hope that makes a little bit of sense. The higher the number, the more sensitive the camera sensor is. And so that's why when you see advertisements for camera manufacturers, they talk about low light sensitivity and being really good at shooting at low light sensitivity or low light situations. That's because that camera manufacturer has developed a sensor that's sensitive enough that you can really rise or raise that ISO to the point that you can shoot in low light situations and have a picture come out looking as if it's properly exposed, as if it were shot in another situation where that lighting was as bright as it needed to be, but still kind of give you that ambiance of low light situation. That is another side that we'll get into, I really want to say later on this year, but we'll see, about how lighting is done, because lighting is an art in itself, not just the photography and in whole, but the lighting itself. So ISO really talks about the sensitivity of your camera sensor, and that's something that is across almost all camera platforms, whether it's point and shoot or professional. Now I say almost all because there really isn't a setting, unless you download a specific camera app on a smartphone. I haven't seen ISO setting on the iPhone or Android or other smartphones. So I can't speak to that directly, but there are some things that you can go in on the settings of your iPhone, and there's some videos out there on YouTube that'll show you how to do that. But you can't really change the sensitivity as widely as you can on the point and shoots or the professional cameras. So that being said, I'm going to take a couple of shots and I'm going to throw them up here, or have my editor throw them up here, and show you what the difference in high and low ISO are. All right, cool. Have everybody a great day. Look forward to seeing y'all back watching the next video for tomorrow. We're going to be talking about the other side of what we were talking about on exposure, and we were talking about with silhouette that recently went up, is adjusting not just the ISO but your shutter speed, and that affects how developed or how exposed your subject is as well. There's a third thing out there, which is your lens aperture. Most people aren't going to have that adjustment on point and shoots. However, actually most point and shoots you could probably adjust the aperture opening in the lens. It's just that you can't switch out the lenses, so the lens changing is not going to be an option. But the professional line of cameras, they have other lenses you can install, and that maybe opens up some options, allowing the aperture of the lens to go down a little bit more and be less receptive of the light around, so it takes longer to expose, or maybe it's a really bright situation and you really don't need that much light to get the shot you're looking for. Most lenses though open up fairly wide, and we'll get into discussion about what the aperture is and how that's set and how you need to adjust. So the three basic parts and pieces to exposure: ISO, shutter speed, and lens aperture. So great to have y'all here. Subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell so that you don't miss any of the other videos that are coming up, and we look forward to diving into all this, and I'm really excited about this. I love sharing these details, and I really look forward to seeing y'all come through and learning a lot of things, and seeing your photographs and links that you give to your photographs in the comments. Have a great one.